Hi, I'm Ali Patterson and welcome to Season 4 of the Insurtech Show. In today's episode, we look at the current state of the ecosystem when it comes to partnering and enabling efficient digital channels. What does this mean for consumers, the insurers, and of course the tech companies as an industry that's over 300 years old, grapples with a myriad of technologies that have been released in the last couple of years. While the complexity of the technology is only increasing exponentially, one thing has started to remain constant: the usage of APIs to enable that collaboration and the flexibility for big organizations to dominate the market. With that in mind, we've brought in some incredible specialists from around the world into the Fintech Finance virtual studio today. From the tech side, we have Sensedia, the firm that is focused on APIs. Joining us from their side is their EMEA director, Stephen Walsh. And from the insurers, we have an American focus with Cristiano from Sul America and Ringstead from Chubb. Two huge insurers that have a pedigree of digital innovation and collaboration. So to kick it off, we asked Cristiano to give us a background to the current state of the insurance ecosystem.
It's a great pleasure to be here with you, and I hope to help a bit talking about such important team and such important issue.
Brilliant, excellent. Thank you so much. Well, the insurance industry as a whole is going through, it's going through some absolutely major transformations. How do you see APIs and digital impacting insurers?
Well, Ellie, new approaches have been demanded from insurers, and because customers are demanding more and more digital experiences, which they already experience in other journeys. Digital, among other characteristics, implies connection, not only from the inside out, but it's important that the insurance company also organizes and prepares its value chains and internal systems, exposing them to the digital. In this context, APIs are the gateway, the ingress to this transformation, as it enables the opening and proper exposure of business intelligence for consumption and interaction on new channels and interfaces that will impact this customer's experience. We started our journey with APIs a few years ago, and even though we didn't have the vision we have today, we knew that technology would play an important role. Today, the adoption of API is not a differentiator as it may have been a while ago, but a vital lever to remain competitive in an ever-changing digital world.
I always find it interesting when looking at APIs and that interlinking technology. How could some of the things that you're doing at the moment with APIs, could they have been done 10 years ago, or is that completely out the realms of possibility?
Yes, I do think so. But nowadays we have a lot of more resources. But the companies that have bet on APIs years ago, now they are collecting fruit right now. I believe so.
How do you see APIs and digital really moving into this space? What's your take on the way that insurance companies are approaching digitization and APIs?
For me, APIs are actually essential to the modernization of insurers. They enable different products, services, and systems to easily integrate with a network of partners, something that's fundamental to business growth. APIs also ensure that the transition to other platforms is secure and efficient, which addresses a major challenge for technical teams. The emergence of insurtechs and consumers with increasing expectations for seamless and fast experiences puts further pressure on that sector. Having the systems in place to manage those pressures is essential. Market-leading insurers are the innovators who foresaw industry trends and used APIs to position themselves ahead of their competition. When we talk about the use of APIs in the insurance industry, in my opinion, it's not just about innovation. It's about business sustainability. It's about business success.
The connectivity between companies is in large part, right, that's very much centered on APIs, and clearly the more data you have, the better data that you have, the better you're able to understand customer, their needs, and the better you're able to develop products and services. And so it almost becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling, accelerating prophecy, if you will, right, where the more we understand about the customer, the better products and services that we can deliver, and so on. And if you look at the e-commerce examples that we referenced earlier. They're just very, very powerful examples of how these ecosystems can grow. And I think estimates in the next 4 or 5 years that something like 1/3 of the global economy will be powered through ecosystems. And it's not just e-commerce. You think about mobility, you think about travel, you think about banking, thinking about healthcare. All of these are around human and organizational needs, and all of them need insurance in order to be able to operate. So we're very much at the core of providing risk transfer and mitigation services as these ecosystems continue to develop.
Ecosystems are absolutely fundamental for the future of insurance due to several players involved during the journey, such as insurance companies, brokers, self-employed agents. What are the key points to embark on a partner ecosystem?
Well, we have seen that the digital journeys of insurers involves an increasing interconnection with a large community, not only of brokers, banks, and regulators, but in our case, we have also connected with startups, health techs, and fintechs to accelerate the exposure of a greater digital offer as well. It's indisputable that the protocol spoken in all of this business information exchange network is the API. Since everyone has been running to prepare to communicate with each other in this standardized way. And I believe that it's very important that in this scenario, insurers prepare their entire business and remodel it for exposures in APIs, even in cases without demand, because this is an accelerator for what will come. Be it a connection with a telemedicine health tech, as is in our case, or the reverse, when it comes to entering the ecosystems of others, to, for example, offer some of our intelligence as a service. It will depend on the company's API strategy, which will demand a very well-governed and matured API portfolio.
I always find it interesting that 10, 20 years ago, insurance companies and banks, they like to hide behind high walls. They like to have your own on-premises data center, your own in-house team of developers. Everything was again, internalized and built by the insurer. But now, those walls have come down. You now use best-in-class or third parties. How do you fit into this sort of forest ecosystem?
Yeah, now you're right, Ali. Before we used to have a very close scenario, a very close environment, and our intelligence was so much internal, because insurance it's a high regulated market, right? But now our customers are expecting more, and they experience a lot of new experiences in other journeys, like asking food, for example, and they are our new generations will not tolerate anymore this kind of offer that traditional insurers have delivered. So yeah, we need to open our markets, and I believe APIs and as well and microservices will be key for that.
Some of the insurance companies out there are some of the biggest companies are in the world. A lot of very, very talented people working there. What's stopping them doing it in-house? What's stopping them building everything internally?
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of different reasons. Firstly, why they're not doing it at all, and secondly, why they're not doing it in-house. The first one comes down to, I think insurance companies would call this risk. You could also look at it on the opposite side and call it inertia. It's, if you've been in an insurance company for the last 200 years, you've got a way of doing things, and this is the way you do it. This is how you attract new customers. These are the offerings you make to them. The issue there is that the pace of change is exponential. If we look back 40 years, we couldn't have been having this conversation. Frankly, if we look back 10 years, we probably would have been having something very flaky on dial-up. So the pace of change has increased. That means that the consumer has changed. The consumer is no longer my father-in-law, happy to get something through the post to say your insurance is renewed. This is now I want to save £5 on my insurance, but I need to understand what I'm getting for it. And to flip that around from the insurance company perspective, it's how can I attract this new breed of customer, which is more flexible, which is more likely to churn. But you only need to understand that's your risk as well, unless you continue to interact with them and offer them new products and new services.
Now, looking at the insurance market and the marketplace, the ecosystem approach, but this time from a technology standpoint, do you think insurers are starting to embrace that approach of, I'm going to work with this data center provider because they can build data centers better than we possibly can. I'm going to work with this KYC organization because they can verify identities. That's all that they do. Do you think that insurers are moving into that kind of attitude?
I think that there's a certain element of, always go with the big people. Your risk there, of course, is that maybe they're not as specialized, maybe they're not as nimble as smaller niche players, but that's fine. Again, this is all about understanding your risk versus your reward. If you go with a big player and you have a particular requirement, can they turn on a sixpence? Sorry, showing my age there, and actually, change the product for you. Every company likes to think themselves as being bespoke. If you're buying effectively off-the-shelf software, you're becoming less and less bespoke every time you buy it.
Insurance is, generally speaking, quite a high-stress time. People call up and go, I've had a car crash. How can they be prepared for delivering a service and out of the they want to knock it out of the park when it comes to customer service and customer delivery? How are they able to do that? What's the approach?
Excellent. So let's go back to actually the purchase, which is obviously the starting point of your interaction with your insurance company. Firstly, it needs to be what you want. It needs to have that value proposition that you can edit, you can change, you can add bits and bobs to it, whatever's the requirement that you have. But as you say, it's absolutely critical when it comes to making a claim against that insurance company. You've had an accident, a loss, some damage, whatever it happens to be, emotions are going to be running high. That's where an insurer with efficient digital channels will really reap the rewards in a couple of ways. Firstly, when you have that initial interaction, you don't want to be judged. You don't want to necessarily someone on the phone saying, "Oh, that's a shame, that's a bad thing." You just want to think, "Look, I just want to fill in my details. I want to move on to the next section of this particular journey, whether that needs to be, move my car, replace the window, whatever it happens to be." When you're then in processing that claim, you don't want to speak to somebody. Absolutely. I want to know where my claim is in the claim journey. I don't want to sit and wait for someone to answer the phone to tell me something that they're reading off a screen. Why don't I read it off the screen myself? Having said that, there are particular points in that journey where absolutely, interactive voice systems and indeed in-person systems are going to add richness to the customer journey. It's understanding where they fit and how you can pick up different bits of technology to make the customer's journey, the customer's progress through that journey, better for the customer, easier for the customer, which means, of course, that the customer is more likely to renew with you because they've had a good experience. From an insurer's perspective, managing that customer journey needs to be as inexpensive as possible, whilst providing the level of service the customer requires. Again, different insurers may have standard premium and super premium policies with different levels of interaction, different levels of data given to the customer. It's important to understand those as well as part of that strategy.
One of my favorite insurers is Flock, because it's kind of taking a step back. It's drone insurance. You've got to look it up. It is phenomenal, but some of the innovation technologies they're playing with there are they're pretty phenomenal. How can that approach be used by insurers as a whole?
Well, just listening to you talk, there are a couple of things came straight to mind. Firstly, that it isn't now just about the insurance journey, is it? It's about all the other peripherals around that. And if you look at open banking, which I know we're not talking about banking, where we were talking about, what other partner products can you sell, can you link to? If we look at open finance and open insurance, what other things can I do? Who else can I partner with? Taking this one step further, if we go forward in time to when everyone has an electric car rather than ICE car. These cars get updates over the air to their steering systems, to their navigation systems. Perhaps that's an opportunity to insure on a per journey basis rather than on an annual basis. Again, exactly as you mentioned there, if I'm going on a 500-mile journey, on motorways, is my risk different from if I'm popping to the shops? Well, I'm sure the risk is different, but having that on the fly ability to say, this journey costs you this journey costs you that, who have you got in the car? All of these little tiny facets of insurance that, again, insurance companies have this massive amount of data already there about everything they've ever been touched with. How do we help insurance companies get access to that information? APIs can enable you to take little bits of data from lots and lots of different sources and tie them all together so that you can get that insurance decision quickly. Again, if we're talking about this hypothetical opportunity of insuring on the fly, well, that needs to be as quick as you like. It can't be, oh, let me think about that, let me call you back. No, I'm just getting in the car now. Tell me how much it's going to cost. Tell me who, if you're not the person who wants to insure me, where else am I going?
I think it's safe to say that insurance companies have a fair bit of data, to put it mildly. How can they use APIs to use this data in a sensible way? Because on one hand, you want to be delivering and making that data as useful as possible for compliance reasons, for AML, for lowering fraud, for improving the customer experience. But there's also a lot of data privacy concerns. So how do you walk that wonderful tightrope?
To start off with, an API is a secure information traffic tool, and also it can enable additional layers of security on top of it to reduce data leakage. With those data protection laws, GDPR, etc., in place in different countries, it's becoming increasingly difficult to manage traffic and data. In an insurance context, as you've said, huge amounts of data, very personally identifiable, massive ecosystem around it. But if you're building that ecosystem around data privacy, using APIs to, in fact, unify those databases automatically, building in layers of security, building in layers of obfuscation, building in layers of encryption, this can actually simplify your governance and at the same time identify any vulnerabilities inherent in those systems.
Yeah, with digital, we can count on more resources to be present beyond the most difficult moments. Action preventively, positively influencing the behavior of customers. Through event-oriented APIs, data collection and analysis, we can simulate customers regardless of the moments of transaction actions of the business. Personalized suggestions of habits to promote well-being, make the client have a happier life and use less health insurance, for example. That's our case at Sul America. APIs allow companies to adopt automation services, such as chatbots and IVRs that are truly functional and that are self-service, which can greatly accelerate the service to that customer. Another interesting point is the speed we can bring to the process through APIs. Customer requests can be much faster and less costly for companies to process. For example, document collection can be based on process via APIs, which can establish rules and routines for automatic approval, as well as put in place routines that can be easily notified in case of attempted fraud. For each of these scenarios, there will be an API capable of ensuring that your company delivers a rich experience to your customer. I believe that.
Looking at, again, reasons for customers to contact you, do you think that the likes of Amazon, Google, that they expect that same kind of experience translated across into insurance?
Yeah. I believe that the customers already go with the big techs, and they already have experience in big techs, and big techs expect to enter in our market someday, and it would be a very interesting challenge for us. And yes, but I believe that we don't have to be afraid of this challenge, of this challenging, and we need to learn from them. as well use their services, cloud services and APIs to provide a better ecosystems. I believe that we can bring these forces and bring them together with our experience and then experience as a centenary insurer. And I believe this mix will create something new and bring us longevity to this from the time from as the time goes by, right?
What are some of the relevant industry topics and trends that you think are going to be, well, appropriate for the insurance industry over the next 5 years or so?
I think everybody now is much more in tune with home assistants, smartwatches. Again, I was a bit of a Luddite on that. I got my first smartwatch this year. I thought, I never need a smartwatch. And now I can't take the thing off. We'll have to charge it, obviously. But as we keep on going on that technology advance, as we get 5G, as we get an Internet of Things that people actually want to be part of, rather than just, here's your fridge, which will do your shopping for you, then the opportunity and the risk of insurance actually multiplies. So the opportunity is, for example, if we have high-speed data access in that car that you're in. Now, my car at the moment, if I have an accident, will automatically call the manufacturer and say, I've had an accident. Take that one step further forward. I need to give it permission to then call my insurance company. And without me interacting with that insurance company, for these details of the accident or whatever it happens to be passed to them. Now that reduces my emotional engagement there. It speeds the process up and it just makes things a little bit easier. Here are the details done automatically. That of course is predicated upon having that fast, secure connection. It's also predicated upon the insurance company having been able to partner with potentially vehicle manufacturers, smartwatch or other biometric manufacturers, or indeed in a home environment, perhaps an Internet of Things device manufacturer, to actually gain access to that information. It isn't just the insurance company now sitting on their own in this new world of high-speed communications. It's them sitting potentially at the center of this web of information that's coming in, enabling them to make fast, on-the-fly decisions and potentially increase claim speed, reduce customer anxiety, and potentially make more money.
And in regards to Sensedia, where are you going to fit in this, looking towards the future?
So we already talk with a lot of insurance companies who are looking to be innovators, who are looking to potentially take that next step from being I can't call them a bricks and mortar insurer because that isn't the case anymore, but a non-leading digital insurer. And how do we get there? Well, we've got experience in helping other companies there. We've helped, the biggest insurance company in Latin America, SulAmérica, really change their business from being that, insurance man comes around to the house with a book to thinking about things which no one else is even trying. Thinking about, well, as you mentioned, potentially drone insurance and any type of insurance that people now think, do you know what? For 20p here, that's a great idea. I'm going to a concert tomorrow. Should I take out insurance on my phone just for that time if I'm, potentially at risk of dropping it, losing it, having it stolen? Something I wouldn't do necessarily the other 364 days of the year, but just thinking about different options where we can help insurance companies gain access to all that data in real time, securely, and at speed.
Well, that's all we've got time for on today's episode of the Insurtech Show. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about how the ecosystem is, really allowing for a very different future of insurance. I think our guests have shown how that collaboration is the name of the game for the insurance. It might not be as quick to do it as banking perhaps, but the implications here I think are much, much bigger. Thank you to all our viewers and to our guests. I'll see you next time.